السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وأنت إن شئت تجعل الحزن سهلا. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من أن نشرك بك شيئا نعلمه ونستغفرك لما لا نعلمه. ثم أما بعد. It was narrated that Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu was walking in the market in Medina, and he was telling people that you are here and the mirath of the Prophet ﷺ is being distributed in the masjid. So people rushed to the masjid and they found nothing except people coming together, doing the dhikr and studying the deen. And they told him, well, we found nothing. I asked, what did you find? He said, we found people sitting, reading Quran and studying Islam. He said, this is the mirath of the Prophet ﷺ. So if you are invited to walimas and dinners, they come in big numbers. But for seeking knowledge, people are not enthusiastic, either because they know everything, so they don't need to know anything else because they are knowledgeable, or they don't know that they don't know. So, Jazakumullah khair for coming, and as we are addressing important issues that we need to know about the legacy of Ghazali and his talk about Amrad al-Qulub and the disease of the heart, and how to be aware of it and how to treat it. Last time we covered a number of important issues and talked about al-akhlaq and how can we improve our akhlaq, and is it improvable? Can we change our bad akhlaq to good akhlaq? We talked about this in some detail. Today, inshallah, we'll talk about alamat amrad al-qulub, signs that of the illness of the heart. What are the signs that shows us that we have some heart issues, and how can we heal our hearts? Imam Ghazali started by giving an example of the different kind of illnesses. He said every sense or every limb is created to do a particular function. So the eye was created to be able to see, right? So when someone cannot see clearly or cannot see at all, then we know there's something wrong with his eyes, right? And similarly with tasting and hearing and so on and so forth. So everything was created to work, right? And sometimes this is when we go and see doctors, right? We go and see doctors when something is going wrong. Something is not working or functioning as it should function, right? So, and this is the definition of illness or sickness. So he says similarly, the heart also get sick, and the sign of the sickness of the heart is that the heart is not functioning as it should be. As we said, that eyes were created to see, to be able to see things. And the function of the heart is, he said, hikmah, seeking hikmah and knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing hikmah, and knowing things as it is. This is the function of the heart, according to Imam Ghazali. This is, of course, not the physical function of the heart, but he's talking about the spiritual function of the heart. We're talking about the heart and the nafs and ruh before. So, if the heart does not have hikmah, does not know except the knowledge of, physical world, then the heart has a problem, right? And the problem is that many people don't know that they have a heart problem. This is very significant. And this is what Al-Quran called al-ghafla. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْغَافِلُونَ. الْغَافِلُونَ. The word ghafilun means those who are heedless. They are not aware that they have problems. Right? The Quran talked about them that they have hearts with which they cannot understand, they have eyes with which they cannot see, they have ears with which they cannot hear. أُولَٰئِكَ كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْغَافِلُونَ. those are the ones who are ghafilun, heedless. They're not using these senses in the right way. So physically, they can see, of course, but the Quran says they don't see with these eyes, they don't see the truth, they don't see the meaning of the things. They see things, but they don't see the meaning of things. They hear the khutbah or the maw'idah or the Quran, they hear the sound, right, but they don't hear the meaning of what's being recited to them. They have hearts, and they, mashallah, their heart blood pressure is perfect and their heart is very strong physically, but this heart cannot function as it should. So this is a sign that there's something going wrong. Hearts have been created to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to enjoy His dhikr and ibadah. Now, if the heart is not doing this, then there must be a problem. And this is exactly what Ghazali wants to talk about. We can easily identify an eye problem. You cannot see, or it gets dark, and then you can see a doctor, and then they can give you drops for inflammation if you have one, or they give you eyeglasses or LASIK or something that restore the function of the eye. So the function of the heart is knowledge and wisdom. And when we talk about knowledge, ma'rifatullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why they call the righteous people al-arif billah, al-arifin billah. Right? So they have ma'rifah. And he says that once we have this ma'rifah, the sign of having ma'rifah is love, to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if people don't know enough about Allah, they don't have this love of Allah, they don't enjoy the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they don't enjoy being closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then there's something wrong with the heart. And علامة المعرفة المحبة. He said, فَمَنْ عَرَفَ اللَّهَ أَحَبَّهُ. The sign of ma'rifah is mahabba, love. And love and fear. The word fear also is, I think, is misunderstood or mistranslated, because the word fear is a negative word. When you fear is a negative feeling. Nobody wants to be scared or afraid. So why knowing Allah leads to fear? The word fear here, again, is not the accurate word. The word I think is more closer is to be in awe of Allah's greatness and majesty. Right? So that's why the Quran always talks about love and to be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to have a sense of His greatness. Right? So he said the sign of ma'rifah is mahabba. When we get to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we love Him so much. And the sign of mahabba, the real mahabba, is to prefer Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over all other things. To love Allah more than anything else. That's why the Quran challenged the hearts of the believers by saying, the Quran we recite, but sometimes we don't pay any attention to it. قُلْ إِنْ كَانَ آبَاؤُكُمْ. Say, Ya Muhammad, if آبَاؤُكُم, your parents, وَأَبْنَاؤُكُم, your children, وَإِخْوَانُكُم, your brothers, right? كَانَ آبَاؤُكُم وَأَبْنَاؤُكُم وَأَزْوَاجُكُم, your spouses, وَعَشِيرَتُكُم, عَشِيرَة, the whole tribe, وَأَمْوَالُ, your money, your wealth, اقترفتموها, وَتِجَارَة, business, تخشون كسدها, you are afraid that business will get lost. وَمَسَاكِنُ تَرْضَوْنَ, nice homes, أَحَبَّ إِلَيْكُمْ, is dearer to you, more beloved to you than Allah and His Messenger, فَأَذَنُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ, then wait until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make His judgment. In the hadith, ثلاث من كن فيه وجد بهن حلاوة الإيمان. There are three things that if you have, then you will taste the sweetness of Iman. Number one, أن يكون الله ورسوله أحب إليه مما سواهما. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger are dearer than anyone or anything else. Okay? وأن يحب المرأة لا يحبه إلا لله. And to love someone only for the sake of Allah, not for any other thing. Not for any other. I love this brother for the sake of Allah, not because I need anything from him or want to marry his daughter or anything else. This is purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when this love is established, you can feel the sweetness of al-Iman. وأن يكره أن يعود إلى الكفر بعد أن أنقذه الله منه كما يكره أن يقذف في النار. And to hate, to go back to kufr after he has been saved from it, as he hates to be thrown in the fire. So to love Allah and His Messenger, to love someone for the sake of Allah, and to hate kufr, and to just stay away from it. Right? So this ayah we just mentioned, that if your parents, family, business, homes are more beloved to you than Allah and His Messenger, فتربصوا حتى يأتي الله بهم. تربصوا means just wait. Right? So in other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants the believers or expect the believer to love Him more than anything. That's why the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, that's why they are sadiqeen, they are truthful. They are real believers because their heart was clean and pure and they love Allah more than anything else. That's why for them, they sacrificed everything. They sacrificed everything. For them that was not difficult. Right? Because their heart was full of real iman. So the sound heart is the heart that always thirsty for more knowledge. Want to know more about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Want to please Allah more. Want to know what Allah loves, and he rushes to do it. And he wants to know what Allah does not approve, and then he stays away from it. That's the function of the heart. Imam Ghazali said, فَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ شَيْءٌ أَحَبُّ إِلَيْهِ مِنَ اللَّهِ فَقَلْبُهُ مَرِيضٌ. Those who have something in their heart that more beloved than Allah, then this person needs to know that his heart is corrupt. Like the eye that cannot see, and this heart is also corrupt. It's not qalb salim, it's not sound heart, it's a corrupt heart. This is a sign of the corruption of the heart, or disease of the heart. Of course, this includes to love dunya. And everybody loves the dunya. I mean, everybody loves his wife or his children, his money, his house. That's natural thing. But the love we'll talk about here that prevents people from fulfilling the duties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When his business stops him from praying on time. Right? His children and his wife make him so scared so that he cannot go for Hajj for them. His house is spending all his money to decorate his house, and his people or cousins or family members are in need, and he cannot help them because he loves his house so much. And people are sometimes crazy with their cars, with their homes, with their pets, with their hobbies and sports. They're super crazy. So the heart is filled with the love of these things. So there's no room in the heart for the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This qalb is marid. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always wants or likes to purify the hearts of the people He loves by showing them that you should be willing to sacrifice things for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibrahim is the best example. Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was told to sacrifice his son, he's not like any believer. He's like Khalil. He's a friend of Allah, close friend of Allah. This is what the word Khalil Rahman. So Allah does not, subhanahu wa ta'ala, wants to cast a burden on Ibrahim or to make him go through this pain and suffering. But Allah just wants to make sure that the love of Allah comes first. You know, Ibrahim a.s. was giving his son when he was in his 90s. So we can imagine how much he loved his son. He's the only son at that time. Right? For his entire life, he was not given any son. So now when he was, you know the story, when the angels came to Sarah and Ibrahim and they gave them the good news, right? And then Ismail was before that. Now you can imagine how dear his son is to him. And not only to lose him, but you yourself go and slaughter him. I mean, who can see this happening to any human, let alone your own son with your own hand? That's why Allah said, إِنَّ هَذَا لَهُ الْبَلَاءُ الْمُبِينُ. Bala mubin. It's not like any bala. It's not like any bala. It's bala mubin. And then when Ibrahim فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَ وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ وَنَادَيْنَاهُ أَنْ يَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ قَدْ صَدَّقْتَ الرُّؤْيَا إِنَّ كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ إِنَّ هَذَا لَهُوَ الْبَلَاءُ وَفَدَيْنَاهُ بِذِبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ تَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ سَلَامٌ عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. This experience makes Ibrahim alayhi salam, you know, one of the Khalil of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Was his love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is dear or greater than any other love. And this is also the idea of bala. Bala comes to taste the level of sincerity and love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Would you accept a decision made by Allah, or you just rebel against this? Why me? And that's too much, and all these kind of things. That's why many of the ulama and salihin, they welcome this kind of bala, because they know it's from Allah. It's a test. Test itself is not bad, because out of test you can be successful, right? People come out of tests, you know, different, right? They're very successful because they went through the test and they succeeded. So the test itself is not bad necessarily. It is how we deal with it. So he said, فَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ شَيْءٌ أَحَبُّ إِلَيْهِ مِنَ اللَّهِ فَقَلْبُهُ مَرِيضٌ. Is it like someone who desires eating mud and he does not like fresh bread and water? There's something wrong. There's something wrong with it, right? This is exactly when hearts are sick, when they love dunya, homes, money, and things more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he said that the disease of the heart, most of the time, are so much hidden. People don't know that they have a disease. And if he knows that he has a disease, then he may not have patience to go through the healing process. But even if he has the patience, he knows that he has an illness and he has the patience to go through the treatment, he might not find a good physician, a good doctor. And he said the doctors, in this case, are the ulama. And listen to what Imam Ghazali said. That was in the 5th century Hijri, 11th century Miladi. He said, أطباء هم العلماء. Doctors are the scholars who can deal with these hard problems. وقد استولى عليهم المرض. And most of them are sick themselves. فالطبيب المريض قلما يلتفت بالعلاجه. And he said that's why ulama have become the source of illness. It's all about ulama in his time. They are corrupted themselves, they're all about dunya and positions and he said that's why the medicine of the heart that he's talking about here has been denied. People are focusing on fiqh and khilafat fiqhiyya, madhahib, how to pray and how to say Ameen loudly, or to start Bismillah, or on debates. And I said that's a problem. And everyone wants to be a faqih. Why? Because fiqh, get you a good job. Can be a judge, can be an imam, or can be something. But if you are a scholar who deals with these hard problems, then what kind of job are you going to get? Everybody is focusing on studying or going to college that will provide him a good job after he graduates. So he's talking about the people don't know they have heart problem. If they know, they may not have patience to go through the treatment and take the medicine. And even if they have the patience, they may not find a doctor. And the doctors are the scholars, and they said most of them are sick themselves. They need someone to take care of their hearts. Right? And he said that the love of dunya is dominating, and their a'mal, mostly it looks like ibadah, but in reality, it is adat and mura'ah. They do it like routine, or they do it just for the sake of showing off. And he said this is the sign of the main disease that comes to the heart. And then he said, Imam Ghazali, what he mentioned before, I think he repeated it here again, he said that one must look at his own heart and to see what kind of bad akhlaq he has and try to do the opposite of it. So if he feels that he's stingy, then he should keep resisting himself to spend. But you must be aware that you don't want to come from one extreme to the other. You have to just go exactly in the middle. So spend, and then don't go to the other side, which is israf. All right? So stay in the middle. So there are always two extremes and middle. In every akhlaq, every khuluq, every step of the way. That's why he said staying in the middle is very, very difficult. And he said that's why sirat al-mustaqim. To stay on the straight path, the middle ground, is not easy. People tend to go far right or far left, to one extreme or the other. So if you think you spend so much, then you need to go from far left into the middle. You don't spend at all, keep spending until you feel you are in the middle. Okay? And the same thing applies also to anger. Not to be angry at all, something wrong with it. Someone doesn't get angry at all. As they said that Imam Shafi'i said, من استغضب فلم يغضب فهو حمار. من استغضب فلم يغضب فهو حمار. I mean, if someone makes you angry, if you don't get angry, then you're like a donkey. The donkeys, people beat him and he doesn't do anything. Right? You have to get angry sometimes. But if you get angry all the time, like crazy, that's another extreme. So then you have to push this person this way and you just keep them with the sirat al-mustaqim. To find a sirat al-mustaqim, to find the balanced way is not easy. That's why Ghazali says, that's why we pray to Allah in every salah, ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. This is sirat al-akhlaq. Al-iman wal-akhlaq, he says. The middle, between two extremes. In doing anything, right? In doing anything. Any extremism is bad, even in ibadah. Even in ibadah. Those who fast every day and pray all night, and of course, that's an extreme. Because you're not going to give your wife, your children, your community, your guests the rights. If you are fasting every day and praying all night, then the others will lose. So extremism is bad. So where to find the middle ground that takes hikmah, and aql, and tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and dua. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. In everything we do in our life. And he said, al-istiqamatu ala sawa'i as-sabil fi ghayat al-ghumud. Ghumud means vagueness. To stay fast. It takes a lot of hikmah, because wisdom, as we mentioned before, is to do the right thing, the right time, the right amount. So everything needs hikmah. Right? How much patience should we have? Because sometimes patience is bad, you know that? Sometimes patience means accepting the status quo and expression of fear. When someone humiliates you and takes you right and you say, oh, you should be patient. Well, that's not patience. Patience in this situation is not good. It's bad. It's bad. Yeah, patience, generally speaking, is good, but sometimes patience is so bad. You have to resist. You have to speak up. Someone is taking you right. Someone attacking your family, your wife. So, yeah, what can you, just patience. It's like these Qadianis. Mirza Ahmadullah. British were very happy with him because there's no jihad. Don't fight against the British in India. And British was very happy with them. You cannot resist. And some so-called scholars are telling Palestinians, you don't resist. Because resistance is you are killing yourself, and don't resist. That's not patience. That's not hikmah. The hikmah, stand up and fight back. Right? So everything can go to one extreme or the other. So finding the right thing, the middle between two extremes, is said to be غاية الغموض, very, very vague. And some people, Allah give them the hikmah and the basira, the knowledge, that they can really identify the right decisions, to make the right decisions when everybody is confused. They have this basira, so no, that's too much. Let's stop here. So, and he made this connection between as-sirat al-mustaqim in this dunya, this middle ground, and as-sirat in al-akhirah. And then he said, because knowing as-sirat al-mustaqim, the middle between two extremes, is so vague and confusing to some, وَأَدَقُّ مِنَ الشَّعْرِ وَأَحَبُّ is sharper than the sword. You get a little bit here, then you are not in the sirat al-mustaqim. And that's why he said, those who stay in the sirat al-mustaqim in this dunya, they will pass as-sirat in the day of judgment. In the sirat, like a bridge on Jahannam, everybody has to pass through. Some people will pass very fast, and some people will go slower and slower and slower, and some people will fall in Jahannam. Allah said in Surah Maryam, وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا كَانَ عَلَى رَبِّكَ حَتْمًا مَقْضِيًّا. Everyone shall pass through Jahannam, this sirat. Some people will go like lightning, very quickly, and some people will go like as fast horse can run, the speed, and some people will go like the wind, some people will be like a running man, some will be like a walking person, some people will stumble, and some people will not make it. To pass on this sirat, it depends on where you in this sirat mustaqim, doing the middle thing, not to go to one extreme or the other. That's why we pray, because it's difficult. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, show us the straight path, or help us to stay on the straight path. That's why tawbah is important. So go right or left, just astaghfirullah, and go back. Keep going back. How do I know my faults, my problems, my bad akhlaq? Ghazali talked about 4 ways. Very interesting. The first one is to follow a shaykh or murshid, which is like Sufi tradition, who knows the disease of these hearts. The extremism in every situation, and has some experience. And then he can tell you after a while that you need to do this more. You are doing this so much, do much less, sleep less, you are speaking so much, don't talk too much, or don't eat too much, or you need to spend more, you're not spending enough, you need to make more dhikr. So someone who is like a doctor, as we say, a spiritual doctor, that tells you, and this is the relationship between a shaykh and a murid. These are the terminology used in Sufi tradition. A shaykh is the person who has the hikmah, wisdom, and the murid means the follower of this shaykh. Of course, these groups now exist, but again, I totally understand what Imam Ghazali said. Many of them, people take their shuyukh literally as like almost prophets. They exaggerate in their respect. And many of our youth in this community are crazy with these shuyukh and bay'ah and so on and so forth. I'm not contradicting what Ghazali said, but if I know someone who is really sincere and has the wisdom and has, taqwa and iman, and is not after dunya and fame, and because sometimes, people enjoy doing this, to have a lot of followers, right? As someone of them came here to IFD once, and kids were crazy with him, taking bay'ah from people. And someone told me, well, why you bring these people to IFD? I said, I didn't know. I invited him, and what's wrong? I'll just go to his website and you'll find out. I went to the website, I found a lot of crazy things. A lot of crazy things. This was during the financial crisis, 2009. And one of his lectures is saying that, it's going to get much worse. It's going to get much worse. And don't tell me, how do you know? Because I know things. My sheikh told me things. So like mysterious, going to be got better actually. They convince the followers they know the ghaib, they know things. But Imam Ghazali is talking about people like him, someone who is really sincere, and people who have nothing to do with dunya and fame, conferences, money, and followers, and so on and so forth. If there's some of them, maybe. I don't know anyone. The only one I know is my sheikh, actually, one of my shuyukh. His name is Dr. Sheikh Hassan al-Shafi'i, who is the head of the Council of Arabic Language. That's international. This is the biggest council for Arabic language. He's the head of it now. He's a professor of Islamic law. And he's a real Sufi. To me, I studied with him Sufism in a master's degree. And he's a person I think is extremely humble. Very, very humble. And you can, we cannot tell, the amount of taqwa of a person. Don't know, but in some situation you can tell if this person is really. He's a big professor, a huge professor. He got his PhD from London, decades ago. He's old now. And in our college, in Cairo University, he's like, he's the big name when it comes to Islamic philosophy. That includes Sufism and Islamic theology and akhlaq and so on. He is known. He was actually the president of the International Islamic University in Pakistan. He was there as the president for 5 years or so. Very well known scholar in the entire world. Then because he was my teacher, and he knows me, and I told him I have a bunch of. I was just going back on vacation, and I want to see him. So when I met him at Al-Azhar, I told him I have a lot of philosophical questions and I just need some time. He told me to come to Cairo University's office that day, so I went there. And there was an event, and after the event, I went to his office. And in his office, a bunch of young PhD doctors or teachers there. All of them are his students now. Age difference is big. And they look at him as their great scholar and ustad. There were 4 or 5 of them. And I start asking questions, one question after the other. And he said, you know what, I'm the last one in this room who's qualified to answer these questions. And everyone in the room was like, I don't know why you're saying that. And he said, please, if anybody can answer these questions, I'll be more than happy to listen and learn. They said, no, astaghfirullah, please go ahead and things. And he started talking. A lot of wisdom come out of his mouth. He does not have children. And many people told him, just go and find another wife. And I said, no, I love my wife so much. I don't want to hurt her feeling. I would rather stay with her. This kind of a person who was really, I feel, this is very few of these ulama are around there. The second way is to find a close friend, someone that you trust so much, and ask them, please, if you see anything wrong with me, let me know. And he said, Sadiq, Saduq. There's a big difference between Sadiq and Saduq. Sadiq, you know the word Sadiq, right? In Saudi Arabia, yeah, Sadiq. Sadiq means friend, right? But Saduq means truthful, right? To find Sadiq, Saduq, right? It's like a mirror. When you have a mirror, you look in the morning, fix your hair, and you look at the mirror to see what's wrong, and you work on it, right? But if you see something wrong in the mirror, you don't hit the mirror, right? Because it did something, nothing wrong. It just told you you have a problem here, just fix it, right? So, al-mu'minu mir'atu akhihi, the hadith, al-mu'min mir'atu akhihi. The mu'min is the mirror to his brother, right? So we see each other. That should be the case. And we should not be upset when people, tell us something. And Ghazali gave a wonderful, so if you are sitting and there's scorpion, and someone says, watch, there's something. What would you do? You run away from it, and then what? You attack this person or thank him? Right? Oh, thank you very much. Right? Because he told you something that can harm you. So you get away from it, and then you thank him. You don't attack him, so why are you doing that? You scared me. Yeah, I won't scare you to save you. Right? And I said, this is exactly when someone criticizes you or nicely comes and gives you an advice, don't be sad, don't be mad at him. And Ghazali said, this is our bad akhlaq is like scorpions and snakes. It can kill us. It can kill us. So if someone comes nicely and told us, you better do this or don't do that, he's guiding you to something that can harm you very badly. Perhaps more than scorpion, because scorpion can cause you some physical illness and then you can get treatment. But if you have bad akhlaq, it will affect your akhirah. So, and he said that the fact that we hate those who give us nice advice is because we have bad akhlaq, to start with. We are too arrogant to accept any criticism or advice. And he talked also about another phenomenon which I found also. When someone tells you, brother, you do this and that, you also do this and that, right? We give you an advice and you want to give another advice to him. So he said, if you know someone, like a good friend, someone that you know is sincere in his advice, is another way to know about your own problems. The third way is to learn about your faults from the tongues of your enemies. And sometimes your enemies point at your weakness. It's good to know about your weakness. This is what Muhammad Ali said, by the way, in one of his interviews. He said that, I hate every second in the gym when he's training. It's difficult. He has to raise the bar and push himself to limits. And he said, I try to identify my weakness and work with them. Everybody has weakness. In boxing, it's obvious, right? So he said, you must understand that you have weakness and you need to know these weaknesses and work on them. So, and sometimes your enemies, because they're very critical to you, and they can perhaps magnify your weakness, but take them seriously. Take them seriously, because there must be something, right? Maybe they exaggerate, but there could be something. So learn also about yourself from your enemies. The fourth and last one is to see yourself in the behavior of the people. So whatever you hate, you need also to know that I should not behave like this. Right? Like has been said to Isa alayhi salam, how do you become a great person? He said, I see the ignorance of ignorance bad, so I avoid it. When people scream and shout and say bad words, I don't like it, so I don't do it because I personally don't like it. And then Imam Ghazali said, and I don't want to take so much time, he will talk after this about one of the main reasons why the hearts get corrupt, and one of the main treatments of the heart is to avoid desires. In other words, if we are able to control our desires, this is the way to fix all problems of our heart. And the main source of all these problems of akhlaq is our attempt to fulfill our desires. And he will talk about this in some detail. And he will respond to the halal, because desires could be halal or haram. We desire so many things. Eating, for example, is halal, right? When we eat halal food, I want to get into halal food. Food is good. Everybody loves food, right? But Imam Ghazali is not only talking about the haram desires to fulfill, but he's also talking about the mubah, the permissible food. We don't get too much out of it. I know there is a fine line between what's permissible, what's not permissible. But for him, if what's permissible for us is, let's say, to eat meat every day or to eat until you are full, he said, no, you are going so far, within halal, within the mubah. Speaking too much, sleeping too much, eating too much, looking too much. Even if you are doing all these things in halal, eventually this will be. The point is, resist. We'll talk about this in more details next week, inshallah. I'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions, I'll be happy to take them now.
I have a comment, it's no question. I would just like to say, إني أحبك في الله.
أحبك الله الذي أحببني فيه. جزاكم الله خير. This is what the Prophet ﷺ, when someone said, Ya Rasulullah, I love this person, and he said, did you inform him? He said, no. He said, go and let him know that you love him for the sake of Allah. And the sunnah, when someone tells you, I love you for the sake of Allah, is to say, I love you also for the sake of Allah. Jazakumullah khair.
On the same note, you told hadith, like if we have three things, then we will feel the halawa of Imam. Similarly, Susan said that if you recite Raditu Billahi Rabba Islami Dina by Muhammad Nabi Rasulullah, you will feel the sweetness of Imam.
No, when you say it in your tongue, with your heart also. When you say Raditu Billahi Rabba Islami Dina wa bi Muhammad Sallallahu Nabi wa Rasulullah, this is also gives you this sweetness of Iman. No. I said, Barakallah fi. Comments or questions? Is there anything that's not clear, what was mentioned today? Was it clear? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Anybody come from Hajj yet? Do you know anybody who came back?
Maulana Imad came back. Maulana Imad came back.
Was he in Hajj this year?
Yeah.
MashaAllah. Okay, Alhamdulillah. That's good. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, there's no problem this year.
No.
Alhamdulillah, we don't hear about any problems. Alhamdulillah.
I observed one difference. I was watching on the TV. Like, as far as I know, after Muzdalifah, we go back Mina and then go for Jamarat. First day, big Jamarat, right? But I saw that on the same night, people were going Muzdalifah, but there are also some people were doing the running of the big Jamarat. Is this a change?
During the night time?
Yes. Many people were
No, Rami should be in the day, between Fajr, perhaps after Fajr.
Yeah, but they were doing, and there were many people going. Right?
Maybe they have some excuses, Allah Alam. Maybe they got some fatwas, some people are sick, or Allah Alam, I don't know.
I thought maybe Saudi have changed some, like the...
Out of 3 million, you'll find always
Yeah, I was like
people doing some strange things. So
stay at Muzdalifah, then they go straight to Mina and they do Rami, and then
But I know that people should leave Muzdalifah for tawaf. That's understood because in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, he allowed some people, those who are weak and so on, to go right away from Muzdalifah after midnight to Mecca to make tawaf and then come back to Mina for the Jamarat and sacrifice and shaving. But going during the night time from Muzdalifah to Jamarat, I've never seen or heard anything about this before.
A lot of local people do that.
Local people?
They don't stay at Muzdalifah, they just go straight from Arafat to Mina, do Rami and go.
But before Fajr?
Yeah, they do that, then pray Fajr at Haram, and then they go.
I didn't know. I've not seen anything like this. I've heard about the possibility of doing that. What I know is what I just mentioned, that the Prophet allowed some people to leave Muzdalifah directly to Mecca and then come back to Mina. Doing the Jamarat before Fajr of the day of Eid, I don't know. But most of the people don't do that. I know if they're local people, some people have some excuses. But Alhamdulillah.
So when we do Qurbani, and if I have an obligation for me for Qurbani, right? And if I fulfill that obligation, but these organizations who are doing Qurbani in different places of the world, can I pay money from Zakat, which is like a nafal or no, for that Qurbani?
Qurbani is different from Zakat. This is different Sha'ira altogether. So I don't understand the link between this and other organizations.
I have done my own Qurbani myself,
Okay.
but
oh, you want to give for Qurbani to be done? Oh yeah, that will be enough, more. If you can do 3 Qurbani, 5 Qurbani.
I mean, like, can I pay that from Zakat money or no?
No. Zakat is different. Zakat should be given to certain people in a certain way. So, unless you know that this goes to particular people and fuqara things, but I'd rather separate between the two. Allah Ta'ala alam. But you can do more than on Qurbani. Yani, if someone sacrifices a cow, that's enough for 7 people. But if you have the money, do more. Rasulullah, you know how many camel the Prophet sacrificed in his Hajj? 100 camel.
100 camel?
Yes. Alayhi salatu wassalam. So I always, when some brothers in Hajj say, brother, we want to do exactly what the Prophet did. The exact things, okay. The Prophet sacrificed 100 camels. Oh no, we cannot do. So, if you can do more, do more. Allah has more. Allah has more. The same thing with zakah. If your zakah, let's say 5,000, if you want to give 10,000, give more. Fitr, $10. If you want to give $100, give more. If you can do Qurbani more, do more. Okay?
So the poetry you mentioned, Lawla al-Mushaqqatu, I found it. It is from
أبو الطيب المتنبي. لولا المشقة ساد الناس كلهم الجوع يفقر والإقدام قتال. It's a long poetry.
Yeah, very long.
And it's not just one verse in one poetry.
Very, very long.
Yes. But this verse, it's sometimes a verse, particular verse, or even rows, it becomes a method. It becomes a saying that people repeat all the time. Right? So when someone says a particular word in a particular situation, it becomes a saying that is repeated at all times. So out of perhaps 100 verses, this verse stands out as a piece of wisdom. لولا المشقة ساد الناس كلهم. If it is not for hardship, everybody would have been leader, right? الجود يفقر والإقدام قتال. Giving so much make you poorer. That's true. But only the generous people would be patient and they would find it easy to give, even if this makes them poor. And you know the story of the person who At that time, I mean, people, if he have his own camel that takes him all the time, and we have a guest and have nothing to offer, then he goes and kills the camel and offers the camel. Yeah, they do that. And he has to suffer, of course, after this because he lost his camel, but he lost it for a good reason. Not everybody can do this. Not everybody can do this. وَالْإِقْدَامُ قَتَّالٌ. Otherwise, everybody would have been called courageous. And very few people can do that because it's tough. All right? So it became method, called Sarat method.
So didn't one of the Shura, on the Mu'allaqat, also become Muslim? Or maybe two?
Yeah, one of them is Labid ibn Abi Rabi'a. Labid is one of the best. I almost memorized this entire Mu'allaq. Yeah. It's obligatory upon us in the first year in college. So I memorized it, and Antara. So there are 7 of them, and every professor chooses 2 of them. So I almost memorized all of them. So عافت الديار محلها فمقامها بمنى تأبد غولها فرجامها رزقت مرابع النجوم وصابها واتق الرواعد جودها فرهامها. Very long, beautiful, and very complex composition. But and Imam Shafi'i said, ولولا الشعر بالعلماء يزري لكنت اليوم أشعر من لبيدي. If it was not that shi'r, brings down the ulama. The ulama should not be shu'ara. And he said, if it was not that the shi'r reduces the status of the ulama, I would have been better than Labid. So Labid was asked when in Iraq, when he was an old man, who is Ash'ar Nas, who is the best in poetry? He said Umrul Qais. Umrul Qais was one of these 10 Mu'allaqat. And then he was asked, who is next? And he said Ibn al-Ashrin, the son of the 20 years old, only 20 years old, Taraf Abdul Abd, has also an amazing Mu'allaq. And then he was asked, who is next? He said, it's me. So this is Labid. And then when he became Muslim, listened to the Quran, he stopped saying any poetry. He was like one of the superstars. He said, I cannot, after Surah Al-Baqarah, I cannot say any poetry. He retired. So, رضي الله عنه وارضاه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.